Hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another month, another off topic. Obviously, we have a guest for this one. It's Sammy Thunder. Sammy, welcome. Greg, as always, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, Sammy. This has been like 3 months in the works trying to get schedules aligned, and everybody's busy, but I'm glad we got to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking forward to hanging out with you guys for a little bit and kind of just chatting about whatever. I guess the off topic really, the theme kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
We were texting earlier about what do you want to talk about, and we'll start with these couple of things. So,
Right. We'll start with a couple things and we'll go off topic from there.
Sure.
Yeah, Darren, why don't you start us off? What's
So
the
I was going to
first
say,
thing?
good segue, Greg. So, Sammy,
Mhm.
you have a new gig that you're doing in the community, working with Leighton. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that and kind of what made you decide to do it, and then kind of how it works, and plug it. Feel free.
Sure. So I want to say I'm going to give some credit over to Eric from the Card Closet because I think this sort of springboarded this whole situation. Eric bought a beautiful card. It was like a Tris Speaker American Beauty, I think it was, from Leighton. I was recording at the Philly show, and I guess it caught Eric's attention because he saw a Tris Speaker card that he wanted. Long story short, they negotiated back and forth. He got the card, and I guess it got Leighton thinking about he's seen my card show videos that I do often. And he thought, well, you're recording every dealer, and I don't want you to stop doing that. I want you to continue doing your card shows, but why don't a deal like one of the dealers? It makes sense. It would make sense for them to kind of support you in your endeavor of doing that. And he thought that Just Collect would be a great spot for that, and I agree because Leighton's a great face for this hobby. He's not only setting up at shows, doesn't only just have a store, but he's really kind of all over I mean, not all over the place in a bad way, but he's really in the forefront in everybody's vision, and just really kind of leading everybody by storm. So um, the idea is for us to collaborate on videos. He will be making appearances on For Collectors eventually. He will essentially, we would be working together. We came up with an idea called First Dibs, which gives my viewers an opportunity to buy cards before he makes them public on his store or eBay or what have you. And ultimately, the goal is to kind of just bring more collectors together. That way, if anybody's looking to sell or get their collections appraised, I would try to kind of serve as kind of a facilitator of that. So yeah, I mean, it's really in the infancy stages right now, and there's going to be a little bit of growing pains in terms of trying to figure out and navigate this whole position. But I think down the line it will kind of build and snowball in a great way, and it'll blossom further.
Right on.
Yeah, and I think you're a great person for this. I think Leighton made a great choice because you're kind of like a hub. Like everybody knows you, everybody recognizes you. You go to a show and you're easy to spot. You're tall, and you got the hat on always, and
Yeah.
I think that it's a great idea because like when I think of your channel, like you collaborate as much as anybody. You do live streams as much as anybody. You have all sorts of people on. So it's like, everybody and everybody knows you. So to be a person who can be kind of like a point person on some of these sorts of like connecting people. I mean, look, you got Darren, you and Darren, you were the matchmaker for a card at Strongsville last year. So I think it's a perfect relationship. I think it's smart by Leighton to seek you out. I think you're perfect for it.
Thank you. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, and a lot of pretty much a lot of what I've been able to do for other collectors is help facilitate certain cards. I can't take full credit for all of them, for a lot of them, because, like, for example, one of the most recent ones was Matt from the Card Story told me about this card that he wanted, and I don't think he did a video on it yet, so I don't want to kind of mention it yet because
Sure.
I don't want to spoil that for him. But he said, "Hey, this dealer is going to be at the show that you're going to. Do you mind just taking a look and taking a photo so I can just get a better idea of what it looks like and see what he wants, see what he's willing to offer on it, or what he's willing to come down?" And I said, "Sure, absolutely." So I went over to the table. The card was still there, and I told Matt. I said, "Hey, the card is still here." And he told me what he was. I knew the dealer because I've bought stuff from him before, and I've recorded his table. And I asked him. I said, "Hey, I have a buddy of mine who might be interested in this card. Just want to know where you're at, where you can be at on it." And the price that he had on it was actually what Matt was thinking about to offer to begin with. And so the dealer he kind of gave his reasoning. He's like, "Hey, it's a the card is known, I think, for being a little off centered traditionally, or it's tough to find centered. So this one was just beautifully centered." And so he's like, "I got to stay. If he's willing to do what is it? If he's willing to do like Venmo or PayPal, I got to stay put. If he's willing to, there was another way he was going to try to do it, but." He couldn't do friends and family because of the business account that he had set up. So Matt, ultimately, I said, "Hey, Matt, this is the situation. This is what he wants." And Matt was like, "Yeah, that's fine. We'll do that." So I kind of feel, I can't take complete credit because Matt kind of found the card that he wanted first, but I helped kind of mend things together between the dealer and Matt, and it all worked out. And Matt got his card, and he hasn't done a lot of videos lately, but I'm sure he will get around to it, and he'll show this absolute stunner.
Hmm.
Nice.
Wasn't there a card, Darren, that you saw in a Sammy video that was like ashes that you ended up buying because you saw it
Yeah.
in a
So
Sammy video?
yeah. So Sammy's actually hooked me up a few times, right? So the most recent was Strongsville this year with the Propagandist Montiel DiMaggio, where I didn't know I wanted that card because I wasn't even familiar with it. But Sammy was like, "Hey, this dealer brought this card he wants you to see. Come check it out." So he made that connection, and that card, I love that card. But the first time was, I don't know, it was probably like 2 years ago. It was when I was fairly new, I think, to YouTube. Um, he did a video where it was at a show and he was filming cases, and I was looking for the 38 Gaudi DiMaggio with scribbles, and I was looking for one in like a 3, but he filmed one at a show and it was in a 4, and it was really nice. So I reached out to him, and it was ashes, and I didn't know Ash because I hadn't gone to Strongsville and I hadn't gone to any good card shows. I was going to no offense to the Denver guys, but I was going to the Denver card show where, unless I'm buying Pokemon or soccer cards or maybe some basketball cards, that's all they've got. So I wasn't familiar with Ash, and he connected me with Ash. I connected actually with Ash via Facebook, which I actually had to create an account because I didn't have a Facebook account. So I had to create a Facebook account and connect with Ash via Facebook, and we ended up doing the deal. And and that was awesome. So two of my top 20 favorite cards in my entire collection were are there because of Sammy. So he's very good at the role that he's going into, with Leighton.
And I think it's smart of some of these companies. There's more, with Theo now hooking up with CIA and Sammy connecting with Just Collect. I think it's really smart of these companies because, a lot of people see Sammy. I mean, Sammy's on all the time, and he's lives all the time, and he's got new people on all the time. And you're like, he's obviously a trustworthy guy. And
Thank you.
I want to bring him in, because take that trust and basically attach themselves to it. And we know Leighton's a really good guy. And then with CIA, we know the CIA guys, they're really good guys. And so it's a great marriage. And I think it's really smart of these companies to be doing this. And I'm super excited for you, Sammy. I think that, there's a lot. I think that this could really grow into something even bigger than you guys are thinking right now, because you're a trusted, recognizable face. And it helps the brand of Just Collect to have you as a representative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, my goal is, I mean, it's not realistic, but it's kind of a fun thought, is to try to do at least one card show every weekend. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen, but to attend, I mean, the fact that a lot a lot of shows kind of congregate in the Northeast, it makes it very easy to be able to kind of find regional shows and small shows. And you have the Shriners up in the Boston area, you have the Philly show, and you have the Luckies and White Plains and Long Island. So they really have a circulation of a lot of different outlets that you can take advantage of, or not advantage of, but you can appreciate and enjoy is the better way to put it. So
Yeah. You were at was it the fish kill video I saw that you did the other day, that you were at that
yeah,
one this weekend?
that one was Mike Bokar is the guy who promotes that show, who's done, he kind of, he's not somebody that's in front of the camera, but he's done a lot of good things for, for the community. He's actually donated a 64 Venezuelan Juan Marichal card, which he gave to me to give out as a giveaway. Just really an ally of card shows and just the hobby in general. And he's been running the Fish Kill show for years now, and he's when it comes to I've set up at his shows multiple times, and there's shows that charge like 60, $70, and he's charging 35, 40 for a table, and you really can't get better than that. And he really works hard to maintain that reputation of being a really good show. So it's but yeah, it was his annual veteran show that he does.
Right
Now,
on.
another thing that we wanted to talk to you about was, you've done some videos on this recently, but those of us that have known you for a while, like your case over your shoulder,
Hmm.
has changed a lot over the last year and a
Mhm.
half or so.
Yeah,
And you've really sold a lot of cards in your collection,
yeah.
and you've been going after fewer but rarer, more special cards.
Hmm.
And so I guess, and I feel like other people have been doing that same sort of thing. What led you down that path, and what is it that made you go, it's time to do this other thing, and head in this other direction? Because I mean, you've sold off like you sold your 52 Tops Maze, you sold
Yeah.
your Seaver rookie. I mean, those are like big cards. So take us through that process.
It's funny you mentioned the Seaver rookie because I tend to not have seller's regret generally. That one was the one time where I did, and I ended up buying another one. So
Nice.
that one's there. It's in a lower grade, but it's you guys. I know you guys kind of preach the same thought process. Is like it's not so much the number; it's more just the presentation, and if it
Yeah.
just kind of hits you right, then why not? But as far as kind of going the route that I did, I mean, it's a progression like anything else. I think collectors over time just kind of vary their whole outlook on what they collect, and things change. I kind of came in like a bull in a china shop wanting to buy everything and build sets, and I was like, I'm going to build the 65 set because I love the pennant design. I want to build the 69 set, and I want to build the 59 set. I mean, it's just I was literally going into shops and shows, and honestly, I really didn't know the best way to do it. I was just doing it because I loved. There's like a shiny red ball syndrome, just seeing everything on the corner of my eye, and so there was that. But then, over time, being back into it, you learn things, you figure things out, you start kind of maturing a little bit as far as knowing what things you like, what things you don't like. And I started kind of learning more about some cards that I just never seen before. And I was like, I wonder why I never see these at shows. I wonder why I never see these at shops. I didn't really jump on auctions at all at that point. I didn't, I was focusing on a lot of the top stuff that you see at shows all the time. And, I didn't really have a player that I really liked collecting in particular. I always liked Maze and Seaver, but it didn't really dawn on me that I should just kind of focus on that. And so ultimately I realized it was like, for one thing, I live in a one-bedroom apartment in New York City. It doesn't make sense to have 100,000 cards in your collection. So it just makes sense to probably be smart to shrink that down. So that was one of my reasons. And it went from set building mass, like an array of cards, to rookie cards. And then that I lost interest in that ultimately, and then I started thinking, all right, let me collect certain players, and from there it kind of just was like, all right, well, built a lot of the Topps Maze stuff, but I'm starting to see there's Hires Root Beer, there's Coca-Cola, there's Stahlmeyer's, there's Bazooka. Those cards are interesting. I never see them that often. So that's the direction I kind of went in, and I haven't really looked back, to be honest with you.
Nice. No, that's great. I think it's fun to kind of bounce around to figure out where your passion's at, and then once you realize where it's at, just kind of double down on it. That's awesome.
Now, Darren, I mean, at one point with you in your DiMaggio collection, you were kind of like, I'm going to do like the main base run.
Yeah.
And then you've now expanded that, sort of like Sammy has expanded, to kind of finding the stuff off the beaten trail a little bit. And now your run of DiMaggio is a lot wider, and Sammy sold off some of his base stuff of like Maze to get some of the rarer stuff of Maze. Is that something? I mean, is your reasoning similar to Sammy's? And have you thought about, well, maybe this one's kind of just a dime a dozen, I'm going to go after the ultra rare stuff only?
I think to some extent it's like Sammy, right? Like I came in to the hobby collecting Nolan Ryan, and then I decided to pick up just like iconic cards from like the 50s and 60s. And then I started picking up cards, pre-war. And then, and then I was like, well, I like DiMaggio, so I want to do a DiMaggio base card run, basically, and finished that. And then decided, well, there's a lot of players where doing a full card run is just like a pain in the ass because there's so many cards. But DiMaggio is not quite as bad, I think. He has probably less than 50, like all in with all the like, all the obscure stuff. So yeah, like realizing that I had the base run, it was really cool because those were all cards that I recognized when I was a kid, and I thought it was just neat to have them all and to like look at them all lined up. And then I said, you know what, I do enjoy getting, some of the more obscure stuff from him. So I started picking that up, and then I realized that, I don't, it's not my pure focus, but I enjoy the obscure stuff just as much as I, enjoy the iconic stuff. So, being able to kind of shift like that and not be as focused, right? Because I mean, I was just thinking the other day, right? We do our annual, goal card video, and the first time I did it, I stayed very focused on those cards. Second time we did it, I bounced around a bit, and then this time, I picked up way more cards not on the list than that are on the list, right? So I think being, finding the things that you enjoy and trying different things, I think is just it's a fun way to do the hobby.
See, one of the things I always kind of struggle with is at times we kind of become known as certain types of collectors. Like Sammy is the Maze, Bill Russell, Seaver, he's got his guys that he collects. So if somebody starts to change direction a lot, it's almost like to me, it's like, are you abandoning your identity? Like, what do you mean you're selling your 52 maze? Like when you said I'm selling my 52 maze, I was just like, whoa, really? Like, but I get it. I do
Yeah.
understand, because like looking behind you on the wall, even the things up high and the advertisement stuff, like I do understand it. But is that ever a thing where you're like, well, this is who I am, but am I losing who I am, or is it okay to
No,
just reinvent yourself?
I wouldn't even call it reinventing, to be honest, because I mean, I'm not even thinking about that because I know how iconic that card is, but the card. Let me show. I'll just show the card that resulted from that.
And well, he's grabbing that. I think you're not changing you're not fundamentally changing what you're doing. You're still collecting maze. You're just collecting a different style of maze cards.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I've showed this before, so I'm not going to harp on it too long. But I mean, it led to the Mathewson E98,
Mhm.
and so my reasoning is very simple. Um, how often can I find this card?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
often can I
That
find?
looks like that too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful example.
How often can I find a 52 maze? I mean, if I go to Strongsville, how many do you think I'm going to see at the entire show?
Probably
Yeah.
6.
I'd say even
You'll
more
see
than that.
you'll see 6 in Ash's case.
Thanks.
Yeah, but wait, how many will you see that have
I
good
mean,
eye?
overall, just
You want ones with
the
good. You
overall
want
show.
ones. You want one where you connect with, though.
Yeah, I mean, like a low grade maze. I mean, my budget is not as good for I can't go really higher than a 1 or a 2, but yeah, well, getting a 1 or a 2, as far as um, preference and presentation, whole 9 yards. Yeah, that might kind of scale it down a little bit. Shrink the number down as far as how many are out there. But by the same token, I mean, they're wildly available. I can go on eBay and find a bunch. I can go on
That's fair.
Facebook and find a bunch. So I'm not, that I'm it. Every time I see one, of course, I'm thinking, oh, it'd be great to have it again. But I'm not losing sleep about it. I'm not feeling regret. I would have felt regret if I didn't walk out with this.
Yeah,
And yeah,
totally understand that.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're saying makes perfect sense to me, but I also think that there are people out and listening to this who are looking at, what other collectors are doing, and I'm always fascinated with the mental piece of what makes somebody tick and why are they going that direction. And it's not that I'm judging whether it's a good or a bad thing. I mean, that card that you just held up is a beautiful card that I think anybody would like to have. And I've never been to a local card show that had one of those, but I
Yeah,
have been to
fair.
many local card shows with the 52 Tops maze. And I think that maybe the more we're around the hobby, the more we kind of get a little bit bored by the common stuff, by the higher population stuff. And the thing that kind of gets our juices flowing is, whoa, I haven't seen one of those. And that really kind of gets us going. Like, even that Montreal card, that the propagandist Montreal card that you got at Strongsville, Darren, I think maybe I saw like one of those, maybe two of those at the National. I did see one, but it's like you don't see that card often.
No, you
And when
don't, and
you
you definitely
do,
don't see
it's
it.
usually thrashed.
Right, I was gonna say you don't see it where like the whole back is perfect.
Hmm.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's
that's the thing. And there's a lot of ways to take that approach, right? Because I agree there are some cards that are iconic but common enough that you see them. So you could do something like our buddy Dave did, right? And sell your collection and then go back and rebuy your like dozen most iconic favorite cards, but in a grade that's so high it goes from being like, oh yeah, look, a 52 tops mantle. Oh wait, you have a 7.5 though. Look how
Right.
beautiful that is, right? Like it
Right.
looks like it's fresh out of the pack. Like things like that too. Like there's a lot of ways to approach things, right? Like I think that reinventing how you collect is part of collecting.
When you started your channel, Sammy, you were doing a fair amount of dealing on the weekends and you were selling a fair amount of stuff and you'd show cards that you had for sale. And I know that you still
Card dealing,
occasionally
in case anybody got confused by that. He's dealing cards. Okay.
you were doing some, some commission stuff, like you had some collections you were selling for people and you were doing some stuff, but it feels like you've gone away from that some. What was the reason you were doing that, and what was the reason that you've moved away from that?
so I started dealing because I needed to shrink down the collection, or I wanted to shrink down the collection and just kind of focus. So that was, again, just taking a giant collection that I've built over the couple years I was back in and refocusing on something different. And so it kind of made it fun for me. I love setting up at shows. I love being able to take an inventory and love taking the time to price things out. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun to do that. And there's just an excitement for that, whether I'm in front of the table or behind the table. As far as getting away from it, to be honest with you, it really just came down to I had no more cards to sell, or
Okay.
cards I just didn't want to sell.
Yeah.
That being said, lately, I've been moving some big maze cards that I've picked up over the years. Um, just building, saving up for the next big thing. So, um, but bits and pieces. I'm selling here, I'm selling there. Uh, you know, so that's just a little. I'm still have my foot in the door a little bit, but not setting up at shows anymore.
Darren sells about as little as anybody I know. Like a lot of people will kind of turn cards over, like they'll kind of move on. Like I've done some selling recently, like you've done, Sammy, to open up funds to move into some other things, maybe something a little rare or something a little bit bigger. Darren, I feel like you like just don't sell. Have you, Darren, at all? Like, are there any cards in your collection where you're like, you know what, these 10 cards, I'm ready to put those cards towards this other card?
No, not not really. The
I
cards
don't
that I
blame you.
wanted to, so I have cards. So there's kind of like two, I guess there's like three groups of cards that I would potentially. One group is the group of cards that I had that I bought for a purpose. Like there's cards I bought early on to make some videos with that I wasn't super passionate about, but it like completed something that I was doing a video on. And I sent you all those and you're selling them for me. So I appreciate that.
Oh, that's cool.
So there's those. Then there's tons of cards I have I would love to sell, but nobody's going to want to buy them because they're like, they're more modern, of really cool players, but they're not numbered or refractory or anything like that. Some of them are chrome, but they're cards. It's like we talk about how when we were kids, you'd open a pack of cards and you pull like an 84 tops Mattingly, and you're like, sweet. Now it's like, oh, I pulled a judge or a whatever, right? Like a trout. And but it's like, oh, but it's just the base one, or it's
Ah,
the out of 100, or so it's not rare enough, right? So I have a ton of that stuff that nobody wants, and then I have cards that I don't necessarily want to sell, but if somebody would make me an offer on something, there's I would say that there's cards that I'm attached to most of my cards, especially my vintage stuff. But if somebody were to say, "Hey, you showed this card, and I really want that card," and I'm like, "Well, okay, it's not one of the ones that I have like a huge attachment to," then I would consider selling it. So it wouldn't be like me saying I'm willing to sell this card. It's more like somebody coming to me
right.
and making a passionate case about why they should have that card. And if they sell me on they would love it more than I would, then I would sell it. I actually have a buddy of mine who who watches a channel who I text with all the time, who actually said and this isn't, and I wouldn't sell based on this, but I get where he was going with it. He basically said, "Hey, when are you going to do your top 100 cards in your collection?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Because there's cards that I like that, in the last couple of years were in the 90s that'll probably fall off the list, and I want to make you an offer on them." So it's not necessarily, in my mind, I wouldn't sell a card only because it's not in the more valuable side of things, but I see where he was going with that. So I told him, I said, "Look, if there's cards I show or I've shown in the past that you're interested in, let me know." Right. So I'd be open to selling stuff, but I'm not like saying, okay, here's this grouping that I want to sell. I mean, I even have cards that, I have like duplicate cards. Like I'm looking up in my shelf. I've got the Orcajo Red Joe DiMaggio. I have two of them now, and they're sitting next to each other on my shelf. And I don't think I'd sell even one of them if somebody made me an offer, just because it's such a cool card. And, one's in an SGC and it looks really nice in the tux, and the other one's in PSA. It's a little bit nicer looking card, but it's in the junky, PSA slab. So, junky looking PSA slab. So I like both of them. So, I don't make lists of cards that I'd be open to selling, but I would be open to it if somebody were to come to me and say, "Hey, you showed this card 3 years ago. You haven't mentioned it or shown it since. Would you be open to selling it because I like it?"
Sammy, are you much of an auction house buyer? I know you have access to a lot of shows where you live. You get to go to a lot of really great shows. I'm super jealous of your location because of that. But being a collector of some stuff who's leaning towards some of the rarer things, are auction houses something that you always check them out, or you just kind of check them out? Like, I've used a few auction houses, not a ton. Like, what's your take on the whole auction house buying thing?
So I love them. I always check them. Um, you know, so I'm always keeping my eyes peeled for stuff that would be great. Um, so yeah, I'm always keeping an eye on it. I've only ever gotten one thing from an auction house, and the one thing that I can take away from auctions is that the price of something can sneak up on you really fast if you're not paying attention, and you
Hmm.
can easily wipe through your budget really fast. So I pay close attention to all the fees, all the taxes, and try to accumulate the cost in my head. I'm like, okay, this is where it's going to be. I do like the fact that some of the auctions do provide, kind of give you an estimate as far as what it's going to look like. But yeah, I'm it's a conversation I had with Aaron from Value Vintage and his buddy Joe at Strongsville. They were saying, like, listen, if you're gonna try to go for rare, scarce stuff, auctions are the way to go. And honestly, for the most part, they're right. I mean, there are, like, Strongsville is a show where you could find super scarce stuff, but yeah, auctions are miles ahead the way to go for that sort of thing.
I
I
remember
agree.
when I was a kid, my mom would get like one of those J.C. Penney's catalogs that was like 4 inches thick. And when it was like Christmas or my birthday, she'd go look through it and see if there's anything that looks cool. And I would like go through and circle stuff that I thought was cool. And then I might get one thing that kind of resembled it or whatever. And when those catalogs come out, because a lot of them I'm on mailing lists at this point where a lot of stuff shows up, and they're pretty darn fun to go through, and it
Oh yeah.
reminds me of that as a kid. And I realize I'm not going to get most of it, but still just kind of looking like a kid walking through Toys R Us with giant eyes is, it definitely feels that way. um, I mean, I know we're 32 minutes in and we usually go like 45-ish. We haven't even talked about, and I try to stay out of the hobby drama stuff. Hobby drama
Well,
is
bef-
drama.
before you go into it, I actually really wanted to ask you how that card show went with you and your dad.
Well, I'd love to talk about that. So we first of all, we had a blast.
Yeah.
We hung out and we talked cards, and people came up and talked cards with us all day. And one of the things I like about it is you get to know other dealers. So this was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I guess it was, that you're referring to.
Yeah.
You get to talk to other dealers on a little bit of a different level. So when
Mhm.
there are slow points in the day, people kind of walk around and mill around, and you start to kind of discuss things and what's going on with the hobby and what their personal collections are. And to me, that's some of the most fun stuff, is just the conversations. I sold more than I thought I would that day. I sold maybe three fairly big cards for me. But then what happened was I filmed my cases, and I had a lot of people who reached out to me from my channel from what they saw we had in the cases. And I sold 3 times as much from the channel, the video of the channel from of my cases. And my dad sold several cards from that too, which was cool because, quite frankly, when I'm partying with a card that I care about, I kind of want it to go to somebody who,
Right.
spotted it and said, "Oh, I want
Mhm.
that card." And knowing some of the people who are getting them, like, that makes it a lot more fun for me, because it's like dropping your kids off at school and the teacher versus it's some stranger, it feels that way to me. And so it was really fun. And my dad really likes setting up at shows. And so we had a good time. And yeah, I appreciate you asking. We did well. We didn't do amazing, but we did well. But out here shows are way more expensive than
Did
it's like $200 for a table out here.
did you sell any of Darren's stuff?
I had an email about one of Darren's cards that I thought was going to sell, but it ended up not. I didn't sell any of his. I don't think no, I didn't. I didn't send you any money. No, I didn't sell any of Darren's cards, but he's got some nice ones. He's got a nice 61 Maris. Nice. He's got a nice Eckersley rookie.
61 is tough to find with good. If it has good centering, it becomes very desirable.
It's sharp but off-centered.
Okay.
It's like a 6 and it's sharp, but it is probably 80-20, 75-25. Yeah.
Okay.
So where I was headed is I'm not into the hobby drama, but do we have any opinions on the fall? Is there fallout for you, Darren, on some of this stuff with the Dr. Beckett conversation with P. Ryan? Like, does it affect you at all? Do you think about it? Do you adjust at all?
No, I mean, I don't really think about it. It doesn't really affect me per se, but I mean, I'll say this. When the original stuff happened, I literally didn't care. But then with the attempt to with the attempt to try to, validate the reasoning behind it, then I was kind of like, oh, that's some bullshit right there. But I mean, I don't care. Like at the end of the day, when I buy, I don't buy much stuff from auctions. I bought a few cards from auctions ever. But when I buy from an auction, I view it almost like I would view, and I don't view it as an investment, but I view it the way I would view like any sort of an investment. If I'm buying a stock, if I'm buying into like a business, I figure out what it's worth to me, what's reasonable, and then I allocate that amount of capital to the purchase. And if for some reason it hits it and it goes above it, then I'm done. Right. So I try to take the emotion out, because the first thing I ever bought in an auction was my green cob. And I got so into I'm not losing. Like, I don't even know if I was shill bid or not, but I'm like, I'm not losing. So I was like, okay, what's my limit? This. Okay, what's the highest this card in this grade's ever sold for? Well, it's above my limit, but okay, fine. I'll go to that. It hit that. Then it passed it. And I'm like, I'm not losing. So then I just kept going and going. And I like set the comp that will probably never be touched for a long time because I way overpay. I don't think it's a beautiful example, so I don't feel terrible, but I still feel like I paid like too much for it because I got emotional in the purchase, right? So for me, if somebody's shill bidding against me, I have a set number, and that I'm willing to pay. And if it gets up to that number, I'm still willing to pay it. What if I found out later that I was shill bid and I could have got it for cheaper? I wouldn't make a big stink about it. I would be annoyed. So if I ever like met the person that shill bid me, we would have a, there'd be some shit there, but like no, I don't like worry about it. I just, honestly, I didn't even care until they tried to like, explain it away. And it was just for being two smart, successful guys on that podcast, it was some weak ass shit. Like trying to their arguments were terrible. Supporting the arguments the support they have for their arguments was terrible. And their positions were flimsy. Like it was just I think it made it worse. I mean, if they just ignored it, they probably would have been better off.
Does it affect you at all, Sammy? Like, do you just completely just keep walking down the street and you don't even turn your head, or does it make you stop and kind of go, okay, how do I make sure that I am aware of what's happening or could be happening? Like, does it affect you at all?
It doesn't disturb my day or anything like that. As far as, the general feeling of it, it feels sleazy, you know. When you're thinking about, checking, just kind of navigating through the course of the different outlets of the hobby, and you hear about things like this, it's pretty sad. But the truth is that a lot of this stuff has happened, and it's happened before. It's likely to happen again. And I think what drew this out so much was the absolute honesty that came out of that podcast. So, it's, I think because of how much attention it's gotten was based on, the discussion and the defense of it and the justification of it. And I don't agree with it. I don't think there's any justifying shill baiting at all. I think it's I know Dan was mentioning it's illegal and, on top of being unethical and just a widespread issue. Yeah, I think him mentioning that him and his friends shill bid or bid so that other people can't get good deals. I think that is like the most despicable thing one person can say relating to this hobby. And I mean, I couldn't believe that he said that. And so, I don't really know his background too much. I don't know like what cards he tries to bid on or what cards, they're really they're referring to. But for when you say something like that, you really don't need to know. That just kind of tells you everything you really need to hear. So.
Right. And that, just to add to that, that makes him look like a complete asshole, because that dude has a lot of money, right? He started a company that it's like in the event ticketing space. It's worth a lot of money. He's much richer than anyone that does like vintage card YouTube, including some of our buddies who have really nice budgets. He's rich. He's a lot richer than them. So the fact that he gets enjoyment out of trying to screw over the little guy who's trying to get a deal on something for fun makes him look like a real asshole.
Yeah. So, like, to answer your question ultimately, Greg, it doesn't really. I doubt that it like what he. Well, I'm not going to say that it doesn't affect me personally, but because I think in some ways what he's doing or what he's admitted to affects everybody indirectly or directly. Because now now you're questioning the how other cards have sold in the past. So you have to like second guess, and that's, again, it's been around, it's happened before, it's likely to happen again. It's just the lack of regulation on everything. And I'm hoping that this whole thing is going to establish some sort of change in the various auctions, and hopefully kind of establish some sort of regulation, because I think we desperately need it.
Yeah, I think that's well said. It's whenever there's a negative, can we turn this into a positive? And if this negative event, which kind of has gotten a lot of attention, and one of the reasons I think it's gotten a lot of attention is not just what they said and how they said it, but who said it. Like, these are two very recognizable, very well known people in the hobby for a long time. And it wasn't just a couple of guys on a late night drinking bourbon talking about it on a live stream. It was like two people that a lot of us know. And that was part of the craziest piece of it. But yeah, like you said, I mean, hopefully we can take this event and people can start demanding more of the auction houses. Like, I understand that the auction houses want to get the best stuff. Like, if you're golden and you're heritage and you're, love of the game, whatever, they want to get the best stuff. And the person who's going to let their card go wants to let it go to the place that they feel the most assurance that it's going to go for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have things in their back pocket that can allow them to ensure it's going to get to at least this amount, or we'll make sure that you're okay. Like, that's going to get the best stuff in the auctions. And the auction house is only as good as the stuff that they get.
Mhm.
So it's sort of this double-edged sword, this chicken and the egg. What comes first? Like, you need good stuff to have a big auction house, but you need to assure the seller of certain things in order to get the good stuff. So I don't know how, as buyers, I guess if we just say, well, I'm not using you, Heritage, guess what? I'm not using you anymore.
I think,
Then that would help.
well, to be honest with you, I think, I mean, if I watch auctions of all kinds of stuff, not just cards. I actually, to be honest with you, I enjoy watching like the Barrett Jackson and like the Sotheby's car auctions more than I like watching card auctions. I think they're cool because their cars will show up and I'm like, oh wow, that's, you know, whoa, sweet, that's super old, rare, whatever. Um, the way they do it, they have just put a reserve on it, right? Like, hey, I want to sell my, you know, you have a whatever, you have a Jackie Robinson rookie card and like a 7 and you want to sell it. Okay, we'll set a reserve that's like around somewhere around like a reasonable number, or not set it way too freaking high, whatever, but then it won't sell, right? So
Mhm.
to solve the problem of how do you get the most out of it, all of these auction houses need to do is do what every other auction house does that's bigger, that's, you know, Sotheby's isn't going to do shill bidding stuff. Their reputation, right? At the end of the day, you know, reputation is key. And in most of the sports card auction houses, they care about their reputation, but they're willing to risk it to make more money because they're small. I think that if they were to focus on their reputation and not ruining the reputation, right? Like Warren Buffett says, it could take you 50 years to build the reputation and 1 second to ruin it, right? So like if they just put like the concept of a reserve on some of the like bigger stuff, then this isn't an issue, right? Like, hey, I want at least whatever the like some big card. I want at least $500,000 for this card. So set the reserve. Okay, cool. That's a reasonable number. And if it bids up to it, cool. And if not, then your guess of 500,000 is just too much. It's not worth it, right? Because nobody's willing to pay for it. But if you do that, then they don't have to worry about the shadiness of like having, like you said, Greg, those like, you know, those kind of backhanded processes in their back pocket that they could pull out to like make the sellers more comfortable, right? I think if they just put a reserve, then it is what it is, right? Like, hey, you could have a reserve that's stated, or you could have a reserve that's not stated, right? Like when you watch the Barrett Jackson auction, you know, I saw there was a what was it? It was it a Corvette or some muscle car that's super rare, and it was like 2.2 million, and then they were done, and I'm like, oh wow, somebody bought that thing for 2.2 million, and then and then it says no sale, reserve not met. So it was like an unknown reserve, but it was in there and it just didn't sell because it didn't hit the reserve, right? So by having a reserve in place, it solves that problem and it doesn't make it shady. And you know, these guys that are doing the shill bidding, I mean, I hope they get caught. Well, I hope they get caught in a way where it negatively impacts them. This guy got caught, and it seems like it actually is like making him, you know, more people know him now.
Yeah, maybe so. Well, 48 minutes in. Again, this has been a conversation that we've been looking forward to, and we've
Yeah.
been, you know, it's been trying to line everything up has taken a minute, but again, Sammy will always have a special place in my heart. He's the first channel that ever invited me on. The first collaboration I ever went on to was Sammy. And again, I'm super excited for you hooking up with Just Collect. I think Leighton got himself a really good ally, and I think that you
Oh
guys are
yeah.
going to do great stuff. And it's been fun. I love how you have documented over the last, you know, 3, 4, 5 years, the evolution of your collection. And it's fun to be able to go through that process with you. And when you say I'm selling a card, I go, oh, wow, really? But then, you know, you see that card out, the next card in, and it's fun to see how people, you know, build their collections. And you've done a really good job of documenting what you have and what you've gotten in replacing it, and that's been fun. And ultimately that's what this whole thing is about, is the process of building our collections to be what we want them to be. And so we definitely appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
You know, we get one guest a month and I get a lot of heat when people say, wait, we were gonna be on. And so it was great to have you on, and we're happy that this happened.
Yeah.
And it was
For sure.
super fun to hear your thoughts and the background behind your next steps and stuff. Darren?
Yeah, no,
got
I was going to
anything?
say thanks again, Sammy. It's awesome having you
course.
on. It's a long time coming. So this is good. Before we jump though, did either one of you guys have anything you want to plug? Any show you're going to be at, or any video you're dropping, or anything before we go?
I have a soft launch that I'll mention. I mentioned it yesterday on my Chillin' Chat, but I'll mention it here as well. Be prepared for anyone living in the greater New York City area. In February 2026, myself, as a representative of 4 Collectors, I am organizing or co-organizing a vintage trade night in New York City.
Oh,
So
nice.
more news to come with that. It is a 4 Collectors collaboration with a couple of very familiar names in the hobby. Some might surprise, some might not be surprised. You may not, we'll see. But definitely a lot of great things in the pipeline with that, and more will be announced probably in the coming weeks.
Nice.
Well,
So
that
guys,
sounds
keep an eye
fun.
out for Sammy. He's going to be talking about the Vintage Trade Night in New York City in February.
Yeah.
And then a couple months after that, we'll all be hanging out in Strongsville.
Another
So,
trade night.
yeah, we'll have another trade night. That'll
There
be
you go.
fun too. So,
Yeah.
well, I'm jealous. Darren and I live out west, and we don't get to be at all these local hangouts that you guys get. So we are continually jealous, but it is fun seeing the videos of it and the pictures that you all show. So when you do that trade night, make sure you guys have videos and stuff
For
so we
sure.
can all see it.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
I'll send Dean as my proxy to that.
I was gonna ask him. All right,
Cool.
Right
guys.
on. All right, guys. Well, again, it was great having the conversation. Always fun talking to both of you guys, and everybody else. Hope you enjoyed. If you made it till the end, the code word for this is shill bidding.
Oh, shill bidding. All right.
Keeping it negative, Greg. I'm keeping it negative. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, everybody.